I'm on Yavin. I'm the founder and CEO of Cointelligence and the Cointelligence Academy. At Cointelligence, we specialize at research and education. We analyzed more than 400 different blockchain and crypto companies until today. Some of them were published on cointelligence.com as a part of our rating system. And some of them we researched for other reasons. And last year, we decided to focus our efforts on Cointelligence Academy, which is an online education platform. And we offer free sessions and paid sessions, both. And we are very much into educating people in a good, legit, and impartial way. When I say impartial, obviously, as much as human beings can be impartial, but just to explain what I mean, when we started building a Cointelligence Academy, we've noticed that many of the educators in our industry are educating in a way in order to shield their projects, either to shield their exchange or to shield their ICO, STO, IO, or any other type of project. And we thought to ourselves that the industry really needs an impartial education resource.
And sorry to interrupt you. When you say, that you've analyzed a number of companies, why, like, how do you analyze them? What is the purpose behind it? Are you trying to learn the business model? Are you trying to understand for educational purposes to provide example to your students as to how blockchain technology can be used? Is that why you're analyzing them, or are you providing any form of scoring, or how does it work exactly?
Okay, great question. So first of all, our rating system was developed before the education platform was developed. So we didn't do the rating for the academy. We did it before that. We started doing ICO rating during the ICO craze.
Mhm.
After that, we decided after about 6 months, when we figured out that ICOs are gone for now. I have to say, I know that many people are saying that ICOs are gone forever, but I say that they're gone only for a few years, and they will come back, in my opinion. And then we decided to focus on crypto exchanges, and then we started rating the crypto exchanges, and we still update the rating for the exchanges, but we stopped rating projects before the beginning of 2019. And the only analysis, the only review that we do for projects these days is when we are being approached and we are being commissioned to do an audit for a project. But the audit that we're doing is not a part of our rating system because we are very, very much against paid rating.
I
One
understand.
of the biggest problems that we've seen when we started planning our rating system, we noticed that most of the rating websites during the ICO craze were actually paid for rating. And actually, I call it were bribed, not paid, because you get a payment, you give a higher score.
Yeah.
You, in some cases, um, there are websites that actually blackmailed projects and
Oh.
approached projects and told them, if you're not paying me 1 Bitcoin now, I'm going to lower your score from, let's say, 4 out of 5 to 2 out of 5,
Is
or
this still
from
happening?
9 out of 10 to 4 out of 10. And by the way, we have evidence for a few cases that we actually researched, and victims approached us and asked us to investigate. By the way, one thing that I didn't mention is that we're also calling out scammers and bad actors. We are the only company in the industry that is doing it on a regular basis and doing it as a formal business agenda, which is not a business agenda because calling out scammers and bad actors do not really generate revenues, but it is a part of our
Commitment to the community.
routine.
Yeah.
Um,
Let me ask you one thing. How does it play for you? Because I imagine that it's hard. Calling things as they are can play against you a lot of times. So how does
it's
that affect
very,
you?
very difficult,
Mhm.
and I can actually give you an example of a recent story that we've had with one of the scammers that we called out.
Mhm.
Um, and um, and before that, I'll just finish my answer.
Yeah. Apologies.
And with regards to your question about the education and the research, so I'll just finish off by saying that if we are paid, we are willing to do research and we are willing to do reviews, but it's in cases where, for example, an investor approaches us and is asking us about a specific project, and he or she would like to make sure that they're not being scammed, or he or she would like to make sure that the token economics is really legit, or the business experience or the blockchain or crypto experience of the team is really good enough in order to run and manage a crypto or a blockchain startup. And the last part of my answer is that obviously we use our research knowledge and our research experience in at Cointelligence Academy, and that makes our academy very unique because we come from research
Yeah.
and we don't just educate with theories and maybes. We actually educate according to our personal knowledge and experience as well.
And the market, because you
Yes, of
understand the
course, and
market.
and
Yeah, it's
and,
very
and the
current.
market, which we are very active in the market
Yeah,
in a
market
daily
trends,
on a
and
daily
that's
basis.
really valuable.
Absolutely. Now, you asked me about the scammers. Yes,
Yeah.
of course, it can be very difficult, and it's not rewarding as much as the amount of time and effort that it takes. During the ICO craze, we've been getting a death threat approximately every few weeks, and
Oh,
we've been getting a legal threat approximately 2 to 3 times a week. Now, the thing is that I am also a lawyer, so threatening me with legal actions when there's no base for a legal proceeding is something that always made me laugh, because I've been getting these threats, and because I'm a lawyer, I knew immediately that they have no real claim. And on top of that, we never publish anything unless we have
evidence. Yeah.
clear evidence. And in case we will need to go to court, we will be able to present it.
Yeah. So it's
We
not
don't
defamation.
always present the evidence on Cointelligence website because the victims are asking us never to disclose any details about them, but we do have the evidence saved up in a specific place that is very, very unlikely to be hackable. I'm not going to say it's unhackable because there's no such thing, but let's say that it's on the highest top cybersecurity level. And in case we will need to show this evidence, we will be able to show it.
And what are you doing with respect to the other threat, not the legal one, but the death threat? How have you the first time? No, because I'm thinking about it and I'm trying to put myself in your position. The first time you received something like that, which I guess it's not very common at all, what happened there? What was the thought process? Did you think of stopping doing that? How did you react to it?
So most of these threats are empty threats, and that's why I'm not too worried about them. For example, there was a case where I actually considered if I would like to proceed and publish the story, because I was told that the people behind this specific project are a part of the mafia.
Organized
So I
crime,
did
yeah.
consider very heavily if I want to go ahead and do it. The thing is that in most cases, when you are, first of all, most threats are empty threats.
Mhm.
After that, in many other cases, the threats are not relevant if you are a law abiding citizen, which means that if you live in a Western country that has serious enforcement and it's not a developing country, or it's not a country that has very problematic enforcement, like problematic police, and it's very easy to bribe the police
Yeah,
officers and so on, then these threats can be more alarming. But if you live in a place like I live, which is the United Kingdom, London, UK, then it's not so easy to engage in a criminal activity. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm saying it's not that easy as
yeah,
if it would be if I would live in another territory. And the last part of my answer is that my motto in life is that you cannot act according to fear. If you act according to fear, you will not do many things in life. And my motto has always been, if I believe in something that I'm doing, if I really think that what I'm doing is important enough, and I actually think that what we're doing is so important, because not only it's a part of education, not only it allows people to learn and educate themselves how to avoid these horrible scams. We also, I believe, and other people are saying it as well, that we also help a lot with mass adoption, because as long as we will let the scammers
yeah.
roam free and control our amazing industry and communities, we will never see mass adoption.
Yeah, because it
And
would
that's
ruin
why
the
we think
reputation.
that
People will
it's
not
so important.
trust. Yeah.
Yes,
So actually,
exactly.
with respect to this question, I have two. With respect to this topic that we've just been tackling now, I have two questions. One is, how much do you think regulation contributes toward mass adoption, and toward building trust in customers, and that in itself, promoting mass adoption? And on the other end, why do you educate? What is your end goal? Do you educate? Also, who are you educating? Because are you educating people which are already, that are already stakeholders somehow within the financial industry, but are not yet stakeholder within the fintech, sphere? Or are you trying to educate, I don't know, 30 to 60 years old at home that have internet connection, never heard of it before, and so they might actually benefit from learning about it? And if that's the case, how are you reaching these demographics which are not as versed with technology? Because I guess that most people that are versed in technology and are involved in the fintech industry, they probably are not that hard to reach. They would probably know about you, especially I know that you're very involved also online. I've seen you interacting a lot, especially on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you're doing it also on other venues. But how do you reach those demographics that are most in need of education? So how do you get to them?
Okay, great question. And with regards to regulation, before I answer, I will tell you that there is a huge amount of people that are doing a lot for blockchain and cryptocurrency. And when I say doing a lot, it means that there are people that are lobbying in the different governments. For example, I'm very familiar with a lot of lobbying that is being done in the US and in the UK. Obviously, the lobbying in the UK is not exactly the same as the lobbying in the US, but I'm calling it lobbying as if it's the same thing. And beside that, beside the fact that there are people that are acting in favor of crypto and blockchain regulation, beside that, we also have we sorry we've also seen that some of the regulators are really trying. For
Hmm.
example, in the US, we have an SEC commissioner that we like to call her crypto mom, because she's very friendly with crypto. So, and by the way, she's the one that announced about a month ago or 2 months ago that she is really working hard towards ICO regulation, which means that the SEC will not do anything to any ICO raising funds for at least a period of 3 years' time before they actually review the project and make a decision if it's a security or a utility, for example. So there, and there's other examples. Having said that, the regulators are not doing nearly enough. They are so slow, and it's not going to work. It's always been the problem with regulation and technology, with technology and law. It's always
Mm.
been a problem. But with blockchain and cryptocurrency, the problem has boosted itself 100 times more, because with blockchain and crypto, things are happening not every day, every second. Every morning I wake up, I need to read at least 30 minutes to 1 hour just to get updated on what happened during the time that I was asleep.
And how much time
So
do you waste reading a lot of, apologies
yes,
for the
yes,
term to the listener, but a lot of crap. There is so much bad content out there. So,
absolutely. And just to analyze the content, and to understand what's real and what's fake, what's bullshit and what's significant, it takes a lot of time. So because it's happening too fast, I don't think that the regulators are even able to handle it at the moment, and they will not be able to handle it. And beside that, in general, I think that the regulations are acting especially in the favor of the billionaires, the millionaires, and the wealthy. They are not acting in favor of the people that actually need their, let's call it, protection or defense. And I'll explain what I mean. In London, for example, in the entire UK, but in London, for example, almost every high street has a gambling shop.
mhm.
And I'm talking about a casino, poker, blackjack, machines, and so on and so on. If the governments are talking about protecting the innocent, protecting the poor people, protecting the people that actually need the protection, how come they are allowing them to gamble in every corner of London, while they will not allow them to participate in investments? So to go and play a blackjack or the roulette is fine, but to invest $500 in an investment that is only open to accredited investor seems all right to you? I don't
That's
think
a
it's
very, no,
okay.
that's a very good point. That's a very good point. I never thought about it like that.
I don't think that's okay. And with regards to other countries, like let's take the US or Europe, with regards to these territories, especially the ones that don't allow gambling in the high streets, I can give you so many examples of how the entire banking system
Yeah.
and the regulation are working together while hurting the small guy, I will call it, every single day.
I guess that, and in part, it's actually interesting that you are involved. I mean, that your main proposition, together with the research side of it, is also education, because, I'm not prepared in this topic, but here on 2 feet, I would say that, why is gambling allowed in every corner in London? Because it's part of, and like very much as in the case of Italy, it's because, in my view, it's part of the culture and the heritage of the country. So, in my opinion, although what you say makes perfect sense, the problem is not really. I don't think it's fair to only, accuse the regulator, because I think that part of it is also, culture, a cultural problem. And how do you address a cultural problem? You address it by way of education, because, how do you make sure, or at least try to make sure, that less people gamble money that they do not have? I think it's through education. So at the same time, I think that maybe if crypto will be allowed, if people will be allowed to invest, that also should come as a request from people, Because right now, if you go to I would argue that if you go to the layman in the UK, you're walking the street of London, you stop the first person, you ask, would you rather gamble or invest in a fund? They would tell you, probably they will tell you, I'd like to gamble. And if I take away as a regulator your opportunity to gamble, I think the consequences of that might be a riot, in some cases, especially maybe I would say in Italy. But it's so embedded within the culture. But I think if you start promoting a culture of financial understanding, which is something that I don't think currently is happening. When I left high school, and even when I left university, and even now to an extent, my understanding of the financial market, it's quite limited. Like it is a complex market, but you never study it at high school. I mean, at least not generally. I don't think you do. I don't think you learn the banking system. I don't think you understand that cash money is an instrument of debt rather than an instrument of credit. The first time I read about it, I was like, "Well, what is this guy on about?" And then actually you read it, and it makes sense. It's a debt. It's a bearer instrument of debt that moves. And that at the time you could claim against the bank, and nowadays you can't claim against anyone. So it's very interesting to me that you mentioned this, because I think education is of prime importance. So I'd like to move on to the second point of that question that I made you,
Wait, wait,
about.
wait. I'm really sorry for interrupting, but I have to respond and tell
Yeah.
you that I completely agree with you that gambling might be a part of culture. That's
Yes.
completely fine. I am not against it personally, by the way. I was never involved in the gaming industry, but I don't have anything against it, with one exception. I do think that there should be limits. I do think that people, and it's a very well known fact that it's addictive, and when you're becoming addicted, it's a huge problem. Now, putting that aside, I don't care if it's a part of the culture. I'm just saying that it's being a hypocrite to tell people to gamble is okay, but to invest is not okay. When with gambling, they have a much, much, much higher chance and risk of losing the money. And by the way, in my opinion, all investments are gambling,
Yeah.
especially crypto investments at the moment. But it still doesn't justify the fact that it's that's the case. Now, on top of that, I do have to tell you, forget about gambling. Let's take other territories as examples, and you can see that it's ridiculous that in the US every person beyond a specific age is allowed to carry a gun, a firearm. But when you tell people they cannot invest $500 in a security, come on, give me a break.
But see, that culture
And now
again.
you're going to say it's a part of the culture, and I
Yeah.
completely agree with you. The gun, the firepower is completely a part of the US culture, but who cares? how
Damn.
can you
us
justify
us
how
citizens
can you
do.
justify kids walking around with guns, but adults cannot invest $500?
I'm not justifying. I'm just saying I think the problem stems from a cultural matrix, and I think education is the prime answer to that. To these,
Yeah,
like,
but you are the devil advocate now, and you are
yeah.
talking on behalf of the regulators. So I'm
I need to
responding
play
to you
devil's
anyway.
advocate. If I agree to everything you say, there would be no episode.
Absolutely, I completely get it. And now moving on to the second
Let's
part
go.
of your question. Actually, I'm not sure it's the second part because it's still no, sorry, it's still the first part, the regulators. So let me tell you one more thing. We at Cointelligence approached regulators
Hmm.
again and again and again with regards to scams, that stole between tens of millions to hundreds of millions of US dollars or euros or pounds, doesn't matter right now what's the currency. And so far, none of the regulators acted when we approached them. And I'm talking about the SEC in the US, I'm talking about the FCA in the UK, I'm talking about other regulators in other territories, for example, FEMA in Switzerland.
Hmm.
And every time we approached them, they didn't do anything about the scams. and people continue, and the scammers continue to steal money. I'll give you one example. My partner, Hossam Azawi, approached both the SEC and FEMA about a scammy ICO when they stole a couple of millions or close to 10 millions. After he approached them, it's been a couple of months, more than 6 months, 7 months, until FEMA handled it. But by that time, they already stole more than 20 million from innocent victims. So when you ask me about the regulators, you will excuse me if I tell you that I am very disappointed by the regulators. And that will finish off my answer.
Okay,
Now, moving on to the second
education.
part of your question. So, 2.5 years ago, I got a phone call from a friend of mine that introduced me to blockchain and crypto. And after 25 minutes of that phone call, I decided that that is the future for me and for men and for everyone else in the world. And I realized I didn't understand it completely yet because it's been only 25 minutes of a phone call, but I realized that I should dedicate my life to it. And that's what I did. Since then, for more than 2.5 years, I've dedicated my life to blockchain and cryptocurrency. I don't want to talk about anything else. I don't want to do anything else besides blockchain and cryptocurrency. And if someone talks to me about something else, it takes only about 15 to 20 seconds before I move the conversation to blockchain and cryptocurrency. And believe me, I can talk about almost anything in the world with regards to blockchain and cryptocurrency
Good.
because blockchain technology is so amazing and it can be implemented in almost every industry out there.
I agree with
And
you, and we'll follow up this point with a specific question that I have for you then, which I didn't
and
expect to speak with you, but it's interesting.
and specifically about cryptocurrency, I think it's the first time in human history that people can really have complete economic freedom. And with regards to blockchain, what I mentioned is that it can be implemented in so many different industries. That's why I think it's going to be so influential. And the combination of these two things is so amazing, in my opinion. And that's why I decided to focus my life on it.
You know, it's very interesting that you mention economic freedom because we've had John Matonis. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. And he
I am.
actually said the same exact, he said the same exact thing that you're saying, that crypto will allow people to be economically free for the first time if implemented in the right way, because of course you can have also centralized blockchain or distributed ledger technology, and so basically all of the economic freedom would just fade away. But it's very fascinating to see that I think people from different background with perhaps to an extent different ideologies or principles. I wouldn't say principle. I don't want to depict you as two separate individuals because you're not. But people coming from different walks in life and different perspective all agree on the fact that cryptocurrency could provide people with economic freedom, and I think that's really interesting to see because there is almost no
Absolutely.
dispute on that.
Absolutely, and I always say when I go to events and speak, I always explain blockchain accepts everyone. There's no difference between people. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what's your economic status, what's your color, race, gender. None of this matters to blockchain or cryptocurrency, and that's why I love it so much. You don't, I mean, anyone in the world, everyone and anyone can buy cryptocurrency at any given time unless it's restricted by the government. And nobody will tell you no, and nobody will tell you you are not good enough to buy Bitcoin.
But you
For
need to have money
example,
for it.
sorry?
The counter argument to that is that you need to have money for it. I actually have a question for you about this, about
No,
why,
that's not correct. I'm
because of
sorry.
mining,
You don't have to have money for it because you can earn it in other ways without money.
how so?
First of all, let's talk about the
Sorry.
fact that a couple of years ago, You could have mined Bitcoin
Yes.
and made good profit. So everybody talks about the fact that Bitcoin is not good for mining anymore, and I'm not going to go into that. But what about all the other new coins that you have,
Yeah,
and you
for
can
sure.
mine very, very easily, and you can actually profit. The second example I will give you is that there are companies out there already offering, whenever you learn about a specific cryptocurrency, you will actually get that cryptocurrency for free. And I'm not talking about $1, $2. I'm talking about $50
Yeah.
worth of that cryptocurrency, $100 worth of that cryptocurrency. So for some people in the world, it's not good enough. But for so many people in the world,
Yeah,
this
it's a
can be
great
a
opportunity.
monthly income.
Yeah.
Beside that, you have many companies out there that are doing bounty campaigns and airdropping and so on and so on. And some people can actually participate and profit cryptocurrencies. And because crypto is so global, because everything is online, it's very easy and you can actually get it. And the last example that I will give you is that because blockchain and cryptocurrency is so new, and I don't care that blockchain is here for more than 10 years. I don't care that cryptocurrency is here. If you let's put Bitcoin aside and talk about the altcoins, it's been here for a couple of years only. You have to realize one important thing: knowledge is power. And that's what I explain to our students and to the students that I teach at other universities. If you go into this amazing industry now, you will be able to become an expert. We have a lot of experts in the industry that are not really experts, but let's put that aside. You can become a real expert and you can make a lot of money from it. So these are just examples. By the way, I can go on and give you more examples, but I think that you get my point.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, I do. And actually, I wanted to ask you now the second point that I, mentioned to you. I'm very, very passionate about interactive entertainment and esports. Now, I'm very interested um, to hear whether you came across it before or whether you have any idea, as to how blockchain and cryptocurrency could be integrated to interactive entertainment, so esports, video games, but also immersive technologies, which I think is very interesting. Augmented reality, virtual reality, all of these forms of interactive entertainment. So,
Absolutely. So to give you an answer, first of all, full disclosure,
mhm.
I'm an ex-gamer. So let's start with that.
Why not current? What happened? That's really bad.
Well,
Let's
every
talk
time
about
I
that.
download, I'll tell you, it's a problem. First of all, I'm really too old. Seriously, I have I'm very young at mind, but but I'm old. And just to give you an example, I installed a new game like 3 4 months ago.
Which one?
It was Total Warhammer number
Yeah,
3.
yeah.
Now, I played Total Warhammer number 2, and I really enjoyed it and I really liked it. But when I bought Warhammer number 3 and I installed it, after 40 minutes of trying to figure out the different buttons and the different and I was already used to number 2, and just to start everything from scratch. I mean, I'm too old for that. That's the first thing. The second thing is I used to be a very, very heavy gamer, playing World of Warcraft, and
I
every
knew. I
time
was about to say. I promise. I used to play so much of that. Ruined my
and
life.
every time there's a new expansion, I download the new expansion, I play it for like 15 minutes, and then I realized that as much as it really looks amazing and I really love it, it's exactly the same as I
And you don't
played
have
it.
time. And you don't have time. You love. I think with World of Warcraft, you love the memory more than you love playing now. Also because now everything is all connected. But I guess that you played Vanilla and Burning Crusades, and
Of
like
course,
those
and
were
I played
amazing
all
because
the raids, and I played the raids with the 20 people
it
and the
was
40
amazing.
people.
50 people. It was incredible. All of the like each server was a community. That's, in my
Look,
opinion, what made it
exactly the
incredible.
way that it was. And what you just said right now, for
Hmm.
someone from the outside, they can never understand it. People that saw me play, what you just said, every server is like a community of its own. It's exactly that. It's exactly
That
that.
was the
And by
magic.
the way, that's a part of the reason that I got so connected to the crypto communities, because it's all communities.
The community is
That's the whole.
incredible in the
That's the
crypto
whole
world.
point.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I used to play like I used to
What
have
were you playing? What
almost.
were you playing? What was the character?
No,
I
no, no,
need
wait,
to
wait, wait.
know.
I'm talking about the characters. So I was a mage, I was a warrior, a tank warrior. My nature
During
is very
vanilla,
is being very, and also I was a rogue as well for PvP. I was always playing rogue. I'm a very competitive person.
Hoarder
I'm
Alliance.
a, I'm an addictive person. That's why I'm a workaholic. I am very very competitive, and I can sit in front of the computer for the whole day. Seriously. I can sit and not disconnect from the computer for the whole day. So you can understand that it's like a serious combination for gaming. I used to play for a whole weekend, from the beginning of the weekend until the end of the weekend, and I didn't do anything else, and I only played the game. I did have deliveries. Deliveries. Listen to this. I had the delivery guys come in with the food inside the house to the room where I was playing, putting it on the desk, on another desk, not mine, and they knew that they couldn't even talk to me because I was in the middle of an online game, and you know how it is. You cannot just tell the guys, "Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to open the door for the pizza guy." You lost. You finished the battle.
Ah, my
So
cheek hurts. Yeah, it was like the South Park episode. I think the actor,
it's
what's his name?
exactly like the South Park episode. And listen, I just told my son, I have a 7-year-old son, which definitely is going to become a professional gamer. He already finished like dozens of games on the Xbox with my help at the beginning, but afterwards he did it by himself. And he's only 7 years old. And I told him, and I showed him the South Park episode, the South Park episode, and he said, "Dad, you're not going to do this to me, because in the episode there's the dad that he's starting to play with them,
I know,
that
yeah,
he's
yeah, I remember. And he
getting
gets
as
the sword
well."
and everything, yeah. But you know what's funny? I think most of the gamers from our age, which of course have missed the train a little bit, which were ahead of the curve because at the time you had to hide the fact that you played video game. Nowadays, it's the most popular thing to do at school. And like what's
Yeah,
funny, I
but
think
20 years ago you had to hide it.
exactly
But
you had
by
to
the
hide.
way, I didn't miss the boat because I started the gaming when I was 6 years old.
No, no, I'm not saying the boat in that way. You miss the boat of the trend because it's trending now. Okay, like of course in Asia, in South
Oh,
Korea,
absolutely. Now, when you are a gamer, you can
it's
be a
gold.
superstar. You can be
You
a
are. You're a
celebrity.
super. In
20
South
years
Korea, it have,
ago,
yeah,
you would be a geek,
yeah,
and nobody would even talk to you.
yeah, yeah. In South Korea, it wasn't like that, but that's because they developed the industry much quicker than anyone else. But it was funny because I think a lot of gamers from Europe, especially, which miss this the trend train. I think they will end up like child abusing their children into becoming pro gamers just because they didn't have the opportunities. Like when I was a
Uh,
kid, you'd see the parents of my
Absolutely. By the
friend
way, it's exactly like you see fathers
in
making their
football.
sons go play soccer
Yes,
because they missed the dream. So it's
yeah,
exactly the same with me. I'm gonna make my son a gamer. Obviously, I'm not going to force anything on him, and he is already
he's
born
free
a
to choose
natural
any
born
title he
gamer.
wants.
Yes, but as long as he collaborates, then I'm definitely going to try and fulfill the dream through him.
But so going back,
Oh,
I
by the
love
way,
this whole like
you asked me about blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
yes, in esports and interactive entertainment
Yes,
video
yes,
game.
yes. I think that so. First of all, I have to tell you that I think that, and everybody talks about it because of coronavirus these days.
Yeah,
But let's ignore for a second coronavirus. It's obvious to everyone that the world is going to be digital with regards to everything. And cryptocurrencies and blockchain is digitizing many of the things that were not digitized before. That's why it's called digital assets. That's why everybody talks about the fact that even if the governments and the banks, some of them are not pro cryptocurrency, they do have to invest in it and to understand it. and to see if they want to come up with their own cryptocurrencies, for example.
Yeah.
Um, so I think everything is going to be digitized, and as a part of that, our world is going to be VR, AR, and obviously everything is going to be connected online. Everything, including every device out there. And I did research a lot about IoT and wearable technology before I got into blockchain and cryptocurrency, and it's obvious that it's
Yeah.
happening. Now, to answer your question specifically, that's the future for sure. I mean, if I combine what I just said now, and I combine what I said about cryptocurrencies and so on, then obviously that's your answer. And it's very easy for me to answer it, because you and I used to play cards, physical cards, when we were kids. Nobody is going to play physical cards when my kids are going to be teenagers in 10 years. They're going to play physical cards. Come on, everything is going to be online. Everything is going to be in their crypto wallet.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter right now if it's a cryptocurrency or not. It's going to be using cryptographic in order to
Store value.
uh, yeah, in order to store the value and in order to secure it. So for me, it's an easy thing, and we already see that the industry is starting to evolve
Yeah.
now with NFTs, with non-fungible tokens, which is a part of the amazing revolution that we're going to see with esports.
Here we go. I love that you touched upon that because I'm trying to, as you are. I think that blockchain and the concept of crypto, what makes it very interesting. So, full disclosure, I specialized in terms of studying, and I'm trying to do that also professionally in intellectual property law. And one recurrent problem that the digital world has with IP and actually with respect to ownership is digital virtual ownership, right? Because it doesn't exist at present, save for cryptocurrencies. And that's why I think Bitcoin was so incredible, because it is the first time, thanks to through the use of blockchain technology, solving the Byzantine general problems and all of these other issues, that really it was able to implement a real form of virtual ownership, in my view, in my opinion. And that means that virtual items now, such as, for example, a fraction of a Bitcoin, have an identity. Because why? They have a story, they have a narrative. So that means that, taking World of Warcraft as an example, publishers don't necessarily need to limit the ability of player to own their virtual items, because they can still license them, but they can still own the intellectual property behind it, but then license it to you and allow the player to trade them for real cash. Why not? If I put in time and effort into something, and I'm of an
Of
age,
course.
and I'm of an age where I can earn, from the fruit of my efforts, then why shouldn't I be able to sell you that legendary sword for X amount of price? Why can't I have a market? And at the moment, of course, a lot of money laundering and anti-terrorist funding comes into play. But if everything is on the blockchain and everything is supervised, then why not? Especially now that you have something like the blockchain and cryptocurrency, which allow for virtual ownership. And I think that really excites me, especially when you look at augmented reality. I don't think we're going to be using screens for much longer. Why should I use a screen when I can just see mid-air a screen and I can share it with everyone? So when mixed reality becomes a reality, then and become integrated, I think that's going to be incredible, because then we will be able to really trade virtual content in a seamless way through the use of blockchain, which I think makes it very interesting for interactive entertainment, for moving value, especially when it comes to tokens that are not necessarily representing a currency, but just an item. I
I
think that's
completely agree with everything that you said. um, and um, and you're absolutely right, because we should be rewarded for our time. Let's just take the time that I invested in my character and all the raids that I did. I probably invested more than 1,000 hours, if not much more than that.
yeah.
Why shouldn't I be able to sell my character if I don't play anymore? And another thing is that I think we will see different mechanisms with regards to intellectual property, which is a very, very interesting topic for me. I also did my final paper
Hmm.
When I did my law degree, it was intellectual property, and back then it was very, very undeveloped. Think about it; it was more than 15 years ago. So and you're absolutely right. By the way, intellectual property is a huge problem because everything that was regulated and all the laws that were created and the judgments that were created one after the other, and most of them were not good enough because there weren't options. And
Yeah.
like you say, with blockchain technology, and that's what most people don't understand, with blockchain technology, with tokenization, with everything that we have with blockchain and cryptocurrency, it's actually the first time that we can really have intellectual property and defend it. That's the biggest thing with blockchain and cryptocurrency. You will
Yes.
not even need to defend it because nobody will even be able to steal it from you in the
Exactly.
first place.
Defend it. I think what I love about it normally when I write or try to explain why intellectual property law is important, some startup might not appreciate the importance of it because it's intangible. You can't feel it, you know. It's not something that you can hold. So it's all protected by way of contract. Although it is, although although it is protected also by way of statute, still the way you enforce your rights and the way you exercise your rights is through the court or through contract. And the moment you can safeguard intellectual property in the same way you safeguard real property by fencing it, by holding it in your hand and keeping it in your pocket, that will be very interesting because then virtual property will feel, in my opinion, very much real. And I think that's just going to lead to a massive cultural shift. I think no one will have problem investing funds in virtual content because I have no problem with that. You have no problem with that. Also because we're gamers. We were paying $12 a month to pay, for virtual content. But not every demographic is as accustomed to this process. Some people say, well, I should pay money for something that doesn't really exist, But then if you give them
Absolutely.
so I think
And I
that's
think
interesting.
that, yes, and I think that Bitcoin actually created and will continue to create the huge change in the world that will make people realize. And by the way, I am sure 1000%. I don't know when. I don't know if it will take 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, or 500 years, but I am sure, and I'm willing to bet on it if we were talking about gaming and gambling. I'm willing to bet on it. Digital property, intellectual properties and rights will be much more significant than physical ones.
You can trade
And
them
and and
easily.
and, and everyone that keeps saying that Bitcoin is not as good as gold, for example, they just don't understand what they're talking about, because it's actually pathetic to say such a thing, because definitely Bitcoin is much better than gold, period. It doesn't matter how you turn it around. And by the way, Bitcoin is just the first one. I
Yeah.
am not one of these Bitcoin maximalists and Bitcoin fanatics. I don't care if Bitcoin will be the most well-known used currency out there, if it's going to be Ethereum, or if it's going to be 100 different
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies that will be used across the globe. I don't care,
I
as
think
long as it's going to be cryptocurrency.
I think that it's funny because I am. So first of all, with respect to Bitcoin and gold, I think the difference is that gold has real applications for teeth. For it can be used also in real. Whereas I think Bitcoin, the bet lies in mass adoption. If it becomes mass adopted, cryptocurrencies and the likelihood is that eventually some form of cryptocurrency will be mass adopted. um, but Bitcoin, I think it's interesting because even as at the collector levels, I think it will always retain value, even for collectors. Think about it, because it's limited and all of that. Maybe 100 years from now, no one will use Bitcoin for trading, but nonetheless, I think it will have a collector value because it was the first. It started the whole process, and I think it's in memorabilia. It's very interesting to me.
I completely agree with that, and I have to tell you that I disagree with what you said about
The gold,
the gold and
yeah.
the teeth, and I'll explain to you why. First of all, I'm not a dentist and I'm not an expert, but I don't think that they're using gold anymore. I think that they're
No,
using
that was a
other
bad
materials.
example.
We have much better materials for the teeth these
Yes.
days. Beside that, with regards to jewelry, you can argue that, But with all due respect, I don't remember anyone eating jewelry at any
Yeah, no,
given
I agree.
time.
I agree.
And the last thing that I will say in favor of Bitcoin is that I will always prefer Bitcoin because I can use it anytime, anywhere, with no limits, with no restrictions. You can't say that about gold or most of the other assets out there. And because it's limited and because it's such a genius, amazing algorithm, nobody can argue against it, because I'm sure that nobody will argue against Google Maps or Waze or Viber or Zoom. Like we are connected right now. How can someone argue about something that is so valuable,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't have any physical presence?
No, no, I
So
agree. The physical presence in itself. I'm just saying. I was just playing, as you said, devil's advocate in like saying,
I
okay,
know.
one is real. Um, it's really interesting. And going back, to the one of the
I know. And
first.
by the way, in 50 years from now or 100 years from now, people will laugh when they hear us talk, you and I,
Yeah,
saying it is physical, it's not physical. It's the same thing like like when you see, you saw the video of the teenagers in the United States trying to activate an old
the
phone.
phone. Yeah, 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 yeah. It was hilarious. Yeah,
So think about it. For them, look, they can't even grasp the fact that they need to actually use their fingers.
it's so
Think about it. In
inconvenient.
50 years, when you tell someone a physical asset, they will look at you and will laugh at your
Yeah,
face. What the hell are you talking about?
and I.
Everything is virtual. Everything will be
Yeah, I agree. I
non-physical.
agree. I agree. And I'm very, again, I'm very excited about the technology. I have to say that I'm the most excited about. First of all, I think technology become valuable when it converges together, right? So I think one piece of technology empowers the other. AI, IoT, they each empower each other. But I think I'm especially excited to see what's going to happen where mixed reality is coupled then, as we said, with Bitcoin and all of with blockchain and cryptocurrencies and IoT and all of these. Because think about it, potentially, if you have something like Google glasses but a good iteration of it, and a functional one, you wouldn't even need clothes on, because you're going to just be able to have a filter like right now it's on WhatsApp, sorry, on on also WhatsApp, but right now it's inconvenient because I need to point the phone at you. No one is going to walk. I mean, everyone walks with the phone like this, but no one is going to point the camera at you, right? But the moment where when I see you, you automatically, based on your specifics, share some look. For example, let's say I'm a lawyer, right? And I walk into a law firm. But then, as I'm walking through the street, other people don't necessarily suit. If there is another person that cheers for, let's say, the same football team that I cheer for, then they would see me with an outfit of the football team or with some, I think it will change communication beyond what people are expecting right now. Because what people, what everyone tends to do, myself included, is to reason by way of analogy, right? You're like, okay, now I'm doing this with the computer, so one day I'm going to do the same thing with augmented reality. But I don't think that's the case. I think it will change communication beyond what we expect right now, such as the computer changed communication beyond letters. It became something completely new, Internet of Things and computer. So it is really exciting. But I wanted to ask you about this specific question because I think it's very, very interesting, because I have absolutely no clue how you can do that, which is going back to education and as to what are you educating people on, and who are you educating, and how do you reach these people?
Okay. So you asked me before about our academy and who we are targeting. So we are mostly targeting people that don't have any clue about blockchain or cryptocurrency. That's our main target. But obviously, we will never say no to someone that already knows something or did learn it before, and they don't feel that they really understand it or understand it enough. So we are offering our 101 class completely for free, and we are hoping to be able to continue to offer it for free because it's sponsored by sponsors, and we would like to have it open for people as much as possible. We also have the premium sessions that are for more advanced people. For example, crypto trading. I always explain our students they will that I don't advise them to start learning about crypto trading before they finish the 101 class, before they actually engage with blockchain and cryptocurrency, before they actually gain some personal experience. And I'm talking about starting a crypto exchange account, opening different account, different types of wallets, a hot wallet, cold wallet, start transferring the cryptocurrency between them, buy £5 worth of this and transfer it to there, and then transfer it to this, and so on and so on. And then after you practice it for a while, then if you want to become a trader, then you should start learning crypto trading. For other people that are not interested in cryptocurrencies, more interested in blockchain, for example, we have other types of classes. So we offer them as well. Now, how do I reach our audience? You mentioned yourself, I'm very active online. Me and other team members from Cointelligence are very active online. We did, because my background is marketing, I implemented many of the marketing strategies that I implemented for clients of mine over the years, or for other businesses that I started and built before blockchain and cryptocurrency. Um, and the most important part, I built a community. We mentioned communities. That's the most important part. Actually, for the first year of Cointelligence, I didn't even care about making money. I didn't even care about creating revenues. And people went ballistic when they started having conversations with me, because I went on stages. Everybody is used to people getting on stages, speaking about something, and then at the end, shilling something like their own project, some kind of a business agenda, their product, their service, whatever. When I finished my speech, I didn't sell anything. I didn't pitch anything. I just told them, guys, this is the most amazing revolution that mankind ever had. The only request that I have for you is get yourself educated about blockchain and cryptocurrency. And I remind you, we didn't have the online academy back then, so I couldn't even direct them to our
Yeah.
academy. Now I am. So that was went on. It went on for a while, and I didn't care, because I truly believe that it's the future for all of us. I truly believe that it's going to make things better for so many people out there. It's going to bank the unbanked. It's going to help poverty. It's going to allow people in developing countries to actually have actually hold funds where they couldn't even do it. Some people don't even understand that in some countries in Africa, you can't even pay
Yeah.
your electricity bill, even if you have electricity in your, I don't know if you should call it a house, or whatever you call it. You can't even pay for it, because you need to travel half a day to another location just to pay your electricity bill. People don't understand that for them, when things are so easy, for others it doesn't happen. So I think that blockchain and cryptocurrency can really help these things. I think that with regards to environment, with regards to medical research, with regards to supply chains, there's so many things that are going to happen and already happening based on blockchain. That's why I'm so excited about it, and that's why I dedicate my life to it. And I talk about it every hour of the day, anywhere. If somebody asks me a question when I am on the plane, I don't travel on planes right now, but if somebody asks me, what do I do in life? He or she just invited a lecture about blockchain and cryptocurrency, and you can hear my voice and you can imagine that the entire airplane is hearing me.
What is your
It's not
partner
just a
or your
person
wife
next to
thinking?
me.
What is? She must be desperate.
Let me tell you what my 7-year-old son told me 2 days ago. The best birthday ever.
Has it already happened or not yet?
No, no, no. It's happening next week,
Next week. So it happened now. I see. I see.
and I'm actually going to record it.
Bless. So that you can send it to his friend, his
No,
schoolmate.
so I can share it online and show everyone that I'm teaching my kids. What about you? Are you teaching your kids?
She's 7 months. Yeah, no, sorry. um, On
I will give you 1 2 more years. It's fine. You have between 1 to 2 years before you start educating yours.
at 3 years old, that's when you
Of
started
course,
drilling down
it's a
blockchain.
great age, and especially when you bring the big crypto coins that they print,
Oh, those are
like to make
amazing.
it look, so they
No,
love it.
they're
I can tell you
incredible.
that they love
There
it.
is a, what's the name of that group of guys? No, Happy Animal. I don't remember, but yeah, they have a coin with like some fancy animals like unicorns and lions, and it's amazing. Um, by the way, that's creating an addiction as well as gambling and full disclosure. But on, I wanted to ask you the last question. If you have another 5 minutes, because it's been a very long,
Of
very long,
course.
a very interesting episode. I got to speak about video game with someone that plays them and used to play the same one that I do, so it was incredible. But I wanted to ask you, what's next then for you? What's next for Cointelligence? What's the next step?
So absolutely, we are going to continue with our efforts with regards to Cointelligence research and academy. Clearly, our focus is the academy. Our goal is mass adoption,
Mhm.
and we're not going to stop until we have mass adoption. We're going to educate as many people as we can. We are planning to focus our efforts specifically on the US markets in 2020 and 2021. Um, uh, Obviously, if coronavirus will allow us,
Yeah.
everything we do is online, but still, we do need the offline presence. We do need engagement, engaging with people physically. So I hope that will that we will be able to do that. And I'm very, very keen to support and help any organization out there that is acting on behalf of the industry, on behalf of the different communities. Every organization that is lobbying the governments in every Western country out there, not just the US, by the way, I'm happy to help out of my own personal time and including my team's time in order to help and support it. And I really hope that as many people will see the crypto light as we've seen it.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for all of your time. And thanks so much for coming on Blockchain Rock. I really, really appreciate it. It was a great episode. I really enjoyed this. And we hope to see you soon. Is there anything else you would like to add? Is there? I'm going to leave the link anyway to the Cointelligence Academy and Cointelligence in the description of the video. But is there anything else you
Thank
would
you very
like
much.
to?
Yes, I would like to add one last sentence, and that is never invest in anything that you cannot afford to completely lose, and do not invest in anything that you cannot understand. Let's finish off by saying that, and obviously we hope that as many people will join our industry.
Thanks so much, On. It was great. Thank you very much. And
Thank you very
hope
much,
to see
Amir.
you soon. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.